I just really want all women to know that even if you feel quote unquote stuck right now, or like it's impossible to get out of this negative loop you're in, or you'll never find your friends, it's okay for you to feel that way, first of all. But second of all, there is so much possibility out there for you, and you have complete power to change your thoughts in your mind, even if it feels impossible right now. And it starts with getting quiet. It starts with more stillness. It starts with more presence. And so, even if you can just take a moment each day or throughout your day to just get present and still, that will go miles when it comes to you being able to finally shifting your thinking to the thinking that you want to be thinking to attract what you want.
In today's busy world, how can we find the inspiration, knowledge, and energy to live a healthy and empowered life? If we balance and harmonize our mind, exercise our body, live according to the laws of nature, and connect to spirit, can we find a way to heal, become our authentic self, and live our purpose with love? I am your hostess, Amy Fournier, and welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite. Hey, my friend. Welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. The show is about helping you to be more healthy and fit in mind, body, and spirit, as well as to harmonize your masculine and feminine energy, tap into your true source of power, your intuition, and awaken your authentic self. Today, my guest is Rachel Varitimos. Rachel and I are walking very similar paths because she is a woman's empowerment coach. And she does retreats and masterminds and one-on-one coaching for women. So our journeys are very much aligned. And you're going to enjoy this conversation that we have today because we have a lot in common. And we really tap into Rachel's experience and wisdom dealing with women, helping them manifest what they want in their life, getting out of their heads and into their body, in touch with their intuition, and really just have more fun and joy and more sovereignty in their lives. It's a beautiful conversation. And I came across Rachel because her boyfriend is a soul brother of mine, Ryan Sprague, who was on the show a couple times. We've had some wonderful conversations as well. And they are truly a power couple. I just love these people so much. I have not had the pleasure of actually meeting Rachel in person. I have met Ryan, of course, but I'm looking forward to the day, and I just have the feeling that it's probably just a matter of time before me and Rachel actually converge and collaborate and do some women's retreats and events together because, like I said, we're so much aligned in our mission. Rachel is a beautiful soul, and wow, her journey is a very inspiring one because she actually started out with severe anxiety. She was actually obese. She had an eating disorder. She barely talked at all. She actually went to a weight loss camp when she was a kid, and she just delved in deeply into studying everything she could about nutrition in an attempt to try to control her weight and really intellectualize the whole process like so many of us do, right? Until she finally just gave up and she just let it all go and she surrendered it all because she just wasn't happy. And she just went into intuitive eating, trusting her body, getting into her intuition. And that's when things started to really move for Rachel. So now she is an empowerment coach for women. And she really helps women to stop overthinking, tap into their intuition, and build the self-love and confidence to create the life and business they feel truly fulfilled by. Rachel does this through her transformative women's retreats, masterminds, and one-on-one coaching. So the women who work with Rachel walk away with self-trust, confidence, clarity, and inspiration to take action on their dreams until their dreams become a reality. You're going to find this conversation super empowering, enlightening, and soul-touching as well. And make sure you hang out till the end because I feel that's where it really gets juicy. We took a really interesting turn. You know, you never know where these shows are going to go, okay? Because they're just really just organic conversations between people trying to figure it out. But definitely check out the end of the show because it's really fun. When we get into body trust, we talk about sexuality and women's sexuality in particular, and activating our yonis and the power of the yoni, which is the womb, and the power of massaging yourself, getting to know yourself, your own physiology, feeling your feelings, and how you can really tap into this inner resource you have, into your magic and your power. That's at the end of the show, so you definitely want to check that out. So enjoy this episode with my new friend, Rachel Varitimos. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. The pleasure is all mine.
This is hysterical because we've had a little bit of technical problems. So I'm just giggling right now because, it's just, we're just going with the flow. Rachel has a podcast, like I mentioned in the intro, and our work is very much aligned. She's in women's empowerment and self-actualization. She does women's retreats and events like I do. We're super aligned, and it's like, we're just cracking up because if anybody also has a podcast who's listening, these things happen and you just learn, like all things in life, to just take it in stride and not freak out. Right, Rachel?
100%. And as I was telling you, we did like a little prayer before this show. And one of the things I said was to have more fun. So I'm taking this as we have a little giggle out of the weird tech snafu. And now we're going to have so much fun.
That's it, and just so many things, like, I guess it just comes with age and wisdom and just learning, like, first of all, there's nothing I can do about technical stuff. And I've just learned to breathe and take my time. When I really first started in podcasting, I would really lose it because it was just so nerve wracking. Like, I'm not a techie. Like, how do I fix this? Oh my God, the guest is waiting. And I would just have like a panic attack. But, after a while, you just realize, like, you just got to keep it together, like keep it together. So anyway, here we are. Welcome to the show, Rachel. And tell us a little bit about where you're located. And like I mentioned in the intro, we came across each other because of your boyfriend, soul brother of mine, Ryan Sprague, who's been a guest on my show a few times and I super resonate with. So you and I knew we were going to just be like buddies as soon as we connected. So tell us about where you are, what you're up to.
Yeah, so I'm right outside Boston, Massachusetts. And what I'm up to right now is I'm really big into community healing and self-actualizing through community. I really believe that community is a missing link to so many things in life. And so that's why I've been hosting retreats. I have recently launched my first mastermind. I called it a goddess mind. And I like my little tag phrase is activate your goddess mind, because I truly believe, from my personal experience and from the experience coaching a lot of women, that we are the creators of our reality. And all we have to do is just activate that part of our brain and body and spirit that fully embodies that and sees that. And we're about a few months into that first goddess mind. I did prayers every morning and evening that it was going to be the most successful thing ever. We've had such great feedback. I've had a woman who just like, who cried to me on the phone that they've never had this type of connection with other women. And I see that being a huge part of women stepping into their power and really gaining the confidence. So that's a big part of what I'm doing right now, is really empowering women through connecting them together. Because also, right, we've been living in this wounded masculine society for so long, and a lot of women have taken on the wounded masculine or the wounded feminine. And so what are ways that women can step into their true feminine energy and feminine essence? Well, historically, it's in community with other women, right? Like, that's one way that women are able to soften into the feminine. And I really believe that's why women who congregate at retreats or in masterminds or just women's circles are so huge these days. I know you have them, Amy, why they get such drastic life-changing results in their life. And I truly believe it's because they're allowed to soften, they're allowed to be confident, they're allowed to trust in their intuition, and they realize they're supported. So that's where I'm from and a little bit of what I've been up to.
Excellent. So let's just start with basics then. How would you define community? Because that's kind of a buzzword right now. Everybody's looking for their tribe, their community. How would you define that, Rachel?
Community to me is an ecosystem of people who all magnetically fit together. I almost imagine this puzzle, and each person is a piece of the puzzle piece. And while you might not feel as close or connected to, let's say, a puzzle piece in the center of the puzzle, there's a bunch of other puzzle pieces that connect you to that person. And you can still learn from that person. You can still create beauty, create a puzzle, create whatever you're trying to from being connected to that person. And I look at community as this web that's formed among people. That it almost like spreads through magnetic attraction. Like, for example, the reason I'm sure you and Ryan attract so well is I'm sure there's like some opposing forces, like and opposite, but also there is a resonance with you guys. And now me and you are talking, and it's created that larger web. So I consider us to be in community with one another because you formed that resonance with Ryan, and then he introduced you to me. So that's what I look at community as. And I truly believe that every single person on this planet can find their community as long as you can connect with one person, which everyone can connect with one person. There's billions of people on this planet. I went to college at UMass Amherst, and one thing that I learned from being at a giant school like that is that there are so many different social groups. There are so many different ways to find your people. And there were even groups of people that were just like so eccentric and unique that you wouldn't have seen like in daily life. And I believe when you are out in like a big, let's say, school like that, and you do the things you love, that's when you naturally get gravitated towards those people, and then your community grows from there.
Love it. And I will agree that, when I had my club, which was a brick and mortar lifestyle club in Massachusetts, we did a lot of events. I've done workshops since I started my career 30 years ago. And then now, like you mentioned, I also have a women's circle. But I'll add that one of the things that I've realized that really gives these type of meetings depth is not only everyone a lot of times talks about how we're in alignment, people that are like-minded and all that, and that's all beautiful. But I find, Rachel, it's also the contrast, because that's what makes it interesting. You referred to it like in my friendship with your boyfriend, Ryan, that, there's things that we're aligned, but like any relationship, of course, there's contrast. But I've learned, like in my women's circle, the women that are in my circle, they're really different. They're really unique. I mean, yes, there's a common thread. Of course, we all just want that time to press pause and reconnect with ourselves and take a little self-care and all that. But wow, are they super different, all from different backgrounds, different opinions about everything. And I do mean everything. But to me, that's the beauty of it. Otherwise, wouldn't it be just so boring? It would just be homogenous, So what are your thoughts on your experience with, when people saying, well, I don't know who my tribe is, or there is no one like me, or I can't find people who think like me. And maybe that's not a barrier. Maybe that's just part of it. Like, you're not going to find someone 100% like you.
Yeah, I love how you put that, because I almost see it as, there's a common thread. And I think of like these threads as, it could even be like consciousness levels. So maybe you notice a thread up here and you like what this person has to say, but you're not even close to there. Maybe you even think way differently. But if you pull on that thread of where this person is and you get in a community with them, then you can learn from them, and then you can possibly like up level your consciousness and be in community with them. I see it as the people who end up staying together. From my experience, it's the level of vibration that they are able to get to, the level of consciousness. And that's not to say that someone at a different level of consciousness can't then come join them. But I think that that's the main resonance. If I think about my retreats, for example, I'll have a whole varying degree of women there. I'll have women who have been in coaching for forever. I'll have women who have never freaking done any coaching before. I'll have women who are so stuck in their stories that they don't even know why they're here. They just signed up, and something in them just made them sign up. And then I've had everything in between. And what I've noticed is, there's all these different things on there, but what we all have in common is, at least at this level of consciousness, this is what I look at as the level of consciousness. What we all have in common is that we want to grow. And I think that is a mindset. I think even the growth mindset is a level of consciousness that you have, obviously, right?
Yeah, that's excellent. I agree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think if anything, it's more so a community of consciousness or energy. And then what I've had at retreats is, let's say there's a person who's been doing this for a long time and they're a coach and they really know their stuff, or they seem to be doing badass things. I'll have another woman in the group, let's say the woman who's really new to this. They don't even they know they want to change, but they don't even know the first way to look. They don't even know why they're here. What I see happening at retreats like this, and not just my retreats, but any retreat, is that they see that woman, they get in circle with women, we all share our vulnerabilities, and what ends up happening is they realize, oh, that person that I look up to actually has a lot of the same limiting beliefs as me, and they've overcome them, or they're still a little bit there and they're still overcoming them, and it gives that person permission to step up. Doesn't necessarily mean that those two people like the exact same hobbies or the exact same way of looking at the world, but I think we all have this common resonance of our limiting beliefs, of like our thoughts. I think we all have similar ways that we think, even if we think about different things and are attracted to different things. Does that make sense?
100%. So what would you say to the woman? Because I'm sure you hear this a lot. People hear of your women's circles, your events, and even the people listening now are watching. They think, yeah, I should do that. That sounds really good. The should word. And they don't, because everyone's what? The B word, busy. I'm too busy, right? What would you say to that woman listening or watching saying, I really should, that sounds great, I know I need it, blah, 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 but I'm too busy? Or when it comes down to the date of the meeting, obviously something comes up, it's inconvenient, something's more important, and they don't attend.
I'm a big fan of telling people to stop saying that. Because, words are magic. Like, words literally create. So first of all, just stop saying that. I did this on my Goddess Mind call last night. This girl kept saying she was stuck. I was like, stop saying you're stuck. I'm not here to listen to that.
You're spell casting.
Exactly. So I would start with that. And then what I usually like to do is I have them just think about what they want. A lot of us get trapped in the ego, the protective ego of, oh, the shoulds and you can't, and are you sure, and stay safe, what you're used to. But so little of us feel safe enough to listen to our hearts. We think like listening to our heart is the scariest thing, or our ego makes us think that the heart is the scariest thing. But I always like for them to tap into that feeling in their body, that feeling that bubbles up inside them. And if it's bubbling up inside them around this retreat, then I dare them to take action. I dare them to follow their heart. And some people will just like hop on it and want to follow their heart. Some people, they're just not there. They're not ready, and that's okay. Not everyone's ready to hear something, at like that specific time, but maybe they'll understand it and do it later. But one thing I also like to show people, if they are afraid to follow their heart, is, has there been a time in your life where you did something that didn't logically make sense, but you wanted it so badly, so you did it anyways, and then it worked out? And often you hear yes, because when you want something bad enough, I talk about all the time that passion, like I believe that the way to gain confidence and overcome fear and keep going on a path is passion. When you have enough passion in something, it outweighs the fear. And if there's like a, what's it called? A balance
seesaw.
Seesaw. So if there's a seesaw and passion's on one side of the seesaw and fear's on the other side of the seesaw, if the seesaw tilts where fear goes down and passion's like above the fear, that's to me the green light. That's like, go ahead, because the fear will always be there, but the passion is what pushes you forward. And then that's how you build the confidence to keep going. And the passion just is like that, I don't know, the gas.
I love that. I think that's totally accurate. So, the passion's like the intrinsic force, and what the circles are in these women's groups are the external force. They're the support, because I think what happens, even if someone is coupled or uncoupled in a relationship, even if you're in the most beautiful relationship you could hope for, your dream partner, it's a misconception to think that one person is going to be everything to you, even if they're your quote unquote dream partner. And, a wise person knows that you need many people in your life for different roles. And you're going to be much happier when you just obviously accept someone for what they do bring you, and not expect from them to fulfill all your needs. So what I'm getting at is, I see women sometimes that are in a great partnership and they do feel supported. So if they hear the word, oh, women's group, I don't need support. I got a great partner. I hear this too. I have a lot of friends. Okay. So my answer to that is a couple of things. Okay. So for the partner, you might be supported, but can you talk about the woman stuff with your partner? Like, can you, the whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Sometimes, it takes like to understand, and women can commune a little bit easier sometimes with other women. So, I mean, I guess I should just say, if your needs are met, great. But all of us usually have some needs that we're looking to get fulfilled somewhere. So this is where sometimes like a woman's group can pick up the slack of like, okay, like my spiritual needs are, let's just say, aren't really met or explored with my partner, but my physical ones are, my emotional ones, my life ones, everything else is great. Or they just want to be in a situation where in their busy everyday lives, they never really get to give themselves some time. Like they're fully supported in every regard. They don't come to the circle for that. They come just to have the self-care because they work hard, because they give to everybody, because they have a busy life. And it's their gift to themselves, whatever that may be, just to take off all the roles and labels. And I'm a nurse, I'm a mom, I'm a this, I'm a that, and just be Sally or whatever, with other women, the way we've done since the beginning of time, So have you found that as well in your women's stuff?
Oh boy, yeah. So I believe that I really believe this now, that we think if we are in a partnership and it's amazing, we have it all. We have love, maybe we have a great career, whatever you have in your life. We think that we have it all, and then we're okay. We don't need a lot of women in our life. Women are catty, women are this, women are that. I don't need that. I used to think that a lot of my life. I was terrified of women. But here's what I've realized is you are missing out on half of the magic that's available to you in life, because there is only so much you can learn and gain from your partner. There's only so much you can learn and gain from men. Are men going to help you step more into your feminine energy? The feminine energy is receptive. Like, it's not always forcing and doing. And it kind of goes to what I was talking in the very beginning of the show. When we are in community with not even like-minded women, when we're in community with women, we naturally step more into our feminine. And I see so many women pushing and feeling frustrated in a man's world when they're not meant to be living like a man in a man's world. I mean, even men have feminine energy in them, obviously, but we have different ratios, and maybe that's not their place. And what I found is, and maybe you find this in your women's circles, but I find that when women are together at retreats or masterminds, specifically at my retreat, we do manifestation processes. And every single woman ends up manifesting what they speak out loud at my retreat. I had my first retreat a year ago, and I checked in with all of them because I'm planning my fourth one. I was like, "Oh, how's your manifestations coming? Like, what happened?" Every single one said it, like almost all the things that they had written and shared showed up. And well, one, I think it's because they're able to get into intuitive flow because everything was provided for them and they didn't have anything to worry about. But two, I think it's because they were able to sit back and like step into their feminine energy, which is receiving, receptive. How do you expect to receive if you're just expecting to give all the time? And I really think that if a woman is separating herself from other women, then there's something going on there where she's not fully in her feminine energy, because why would she be rejecting other women? I mean, she's rejecting a part of herself.
Yeah, 100%. And, I'll add that traditionally it was always women who taught girls how to be women. And, the rites of passage, I've talked about this in many shows, are just not acknowledged anymore. They're not part of our natural societal culture. And it's really unfortunate because what happens is subconsciously and psychologically, we as humans will seek these initiation rites in probably unhealthy or other ways, because we know our soul's evolution knows that we need these markers, these symbolic, significant evolutionary markers in our lives to progress. That's what our soul is here for. So that was always done. The women would initiate the women and the men would initiate the men. And so I think what you're getting at is that, what's happening when the women are coming together is we're helping to recreate these sacred rites that we've practiced since the beginning of time. Very beautiful.
That's so beautiful. I didn't even know that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that with me.
Part of why it's probably so powerful. So what would you say, Rachel, is the reason why you think that so many women, because you're right, so many women, like, are afraid of other women, or, are set up to be, even if they don't want to admit it, competitive with other women. Like, I mean, it's just, and men probably do this with men too, oh, he's got better muscles than me. He makes more money than me. He got a more prestigious job than me. I mean, we all, right. But what would you say to women who want to do this, want to join, but don't really feel comfortable or not really ready yet? Like, still, like, they don't like the fact that they're competitive with other women. They want to be open-hearted with them, but it's been ingrained in the culture for women to be competitive. So what would you say to them to help get them over that barrier so they partake?
Well, first, I would just want them to know that, I mean, they're not alone and it's okay, and just show them some compassion. And like, there is always a way out. I always say there's always a way to yes. And I really see like finding that internal, like, if we're talking about divine feminine, weak feminine, I know those words are getting a little overused at this point.
Yeah.
But if we think about it, the divine feminine, we'll just use that for the sake of talking about it. It's very strong in who you are. It's very intuitive. There's self-trust. There's almost like the clearing away of needing the external validation and the external resources and the like external information, and turning inwards. And when you turn inwards and get quiet and start to listen to the sensations in your body, like we talked about with passion, you feel passion bubble up. That's a feeling you feel in your body. Just like fear is a feeling you feel in your body. It's not, they're not thoughts. I mean, maybe the feelings are creating thoughts, like the passion's like, oh, and we could do this and that, but it's a feeling. And so one thing that I love doing with women, and I would say to a woman like this, is how can you start to play with the feelings in your body? How can you start to notice how you feel when you do this versus do that? It doesn't take thought. It's either this opening and expansion, or it's a contraction and like a heaviness, right? And so I would just have them start playing with that. One thing that, this could just be because I've had this on my own journey, but one thing that I've helped a lot of women with to start to build that intuitive muscle is I find food is a really tangible way to do that with. If we work through a lot of like the food rules that they have, because we have so many food rules, all of the rules from all the diets that have been out there, right? So what I have people start doing is just even imagining, like I like to have meal A and meal B. And let's say meal A has a Big Mac and fries and ketchup, and meal B has a grass-fed burger and like a homemade cassava flour bun and like sweet potato fries and like a little salad. And I want them to like sit there and imagine, how would it feel to eat meal A? And they'll just sit and feel it. How they imagined it would feel after, like in their body. And then I would have them sit and imagine, how would it feel to eat meal B? And I have them imagine and feel. And what that does is it makes them realize, oh, like I would feel lighter. And like I'd even have this like pride from eating meal B, versus when I ate meal A, I felt like sick, felt like I had a rock in my stomach. Because I remember when I did eat that, it tasted really good, but then I felt like I had a rock in my stomach. And then I'll be like, make a decision from there. But I think that the more we practice making decisions from there, naturally the competitiveness goes away, because we start to, when a woman trusts herself, when a woman's in sync with her intuition, then they're like, why do we need to be catty, or why do we like need to fight over anything? Because we have that internal strength.
Yeah, well, and I like what you said about the divine feminine and her sovereignty unto herself. And I think for me, that really is the ultimate goal as a self-actualized, fully embodied female. That for me, the goal is complete sovereignty. And when you said that, I immediately got the mental image of the high priestess in the, Tarot card 2, which is the internal expression of the divine feminine, and she is sovereign unto herself, and she doesn't look to external for advice or guidance or permission or approval and all these things that I think that, young women, I know I did it for most of my life. And that's a very disempowered way to live. And I can't imagine any woman growing up in the 20th century that hasn't evolved that way, because that's just kind of how our culture is, everything's judgmental, the good, the bad. You're a good girl, you're a bad girl, you're slut shamed, you wait till marriage, you look beautiful, you lose all this weight and you get all this attention. Oh my God, look at all the weight she lost. And you get all these accolades, and it's all so external based. And the big joke, the big irony is that truly a woman's power is not the external at all. I mean, that was a total, like, we've all been bamboozled, because we all know, I hope we all know someone, maybe it's not even a woman, a person who is extremely solid and fully present, aligned in their core, and has a magnetism, a presence about them, a strength that the one you're going to lean on when it's not good, the one you're going to go to when you need advice, the one that is around that makes you feel calmer, or has a good level head, or just has it together. That's the divine presence, whether it be masculine or feminine. And that's independent of how they look externally. I mean, we all want to look good externally, of course. I mean, I don't know about you, but I took a shower today. I put on a little lipstick, of course, right? But I guess, the joke, Rachel, and I obviously want your opinion on this, is like, women, we're walking this fine line, because it's like, we want to look good, we want to be attractive, we want to be sexy, we've been told that's the secret to our power, attracting a man, keeping a man, all that stuff, being approved of. But at the end of the day, it's really not even that true, because how many women do we also know that are gorgeous on the outside, but there's not much upstairs? Or, they can't keep a relationship, or they can't keep a job, they can't balance a checkbook, they drive you freaking crazy, or whatever, pick something, right? So do you have any thoughts on that? Like, how do we come to terms with this inner and outer dance that we're all doing and trying to navigate, like, how life is?
Yeah, well, I even want to add that if I think about, I've met a woman who's so beautiful. Like, I've met women who are just so drop dead stunning, and then they complain to me that they think they're ugly or they look horrible. I had a roommate in college who was gorgeous, and every night she would go out, she would half of the night she would go home because she felt ugly. Wow. And I would just be like, what is she talking about? And I think the crazy thing here is that we're expecting to get like a wink from someone, or we're expecting some sort of external thing to tell us that we're pretty, when really it really comes back to, we have to think we're pretty. Like, I got my nails done now, and I don't do it for anyone but me. And so I think that the more we look at beauty as a way to look in the mirror and be like, damn girl, you look good, to yourself, like you say that to yourself, the more that actually creates that radiant beauty that then attracts people. We think that the beauty that's going to attract people is from us spending 2 hours in front of the mirror looking good. Like, that's all well and good if it makes you feel beautiful inside, but if you do that and then you're like, well, I hope someone's attracted to this because I know I'm ugly, like,
Aww. So
of course,
sad.
it's sad, but also so many of us do that, right?
Really?
Like,
wow.
I know a lot of girls who have done that, who, like I just talked about, my roommate in college. I've even had periods in my life where I just thought that I was ugly. Even if I put makeup on, even if I thought I looked pretty that day for a second, the second externally I felt like it wasn't showing in my favor, I made up stories about why I actually wasn't pretty, even if I felt pretty from putting makeup on. So what I found is that, like, literally our thoughts create our reality. And that's why I think I told you too, I'm really big into the term goddess or God, and us really understanding and embodying that we are the creators of our reality. Because when you think thoughts that you're beautiful, How do you feel? You feel more confident. How do you show up in the world? You're not like second guessing yourself. I'm sure you're taking more action. You're going up and talking to that person. You're talking to that person. I'm just making up a scenario. But when you have confidence, because the thought is, I'm pretty, you're going to take different actions than I'm ugly. I need to make myself look pretty. Maybe that feeling is insecure. That's going to create different actions, which is going to create a different also energy, which then creates a different result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've found too that, the whole I'm pretty thing, it's more about like, let's see how I want to say this. There's a difference between someone who's, seeking it from the outside to come back. And it's like I said, I guess I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't take shower and do my hair and all that stuff to hear it from someone else. I do it because it's my way of just taking care of me, and just me feeling good as me, because I think when a lot of women get into that is because they're comparing themselves to these outside people, but rather than respecting and valuing you, no matter what you look like, because we all have things, like you said, your beautiful friend that was your roommate that didn't think she was, we all have things about ourselves that, like, I don't know about you, but I have areas of myself that I immediately will look at as soon as I look in the mirror, like my problem stuff, and we probably all do it. But I don't know, maybe Rachel, it comes with age that you just get to the point where it's like, it's nice, but you really that's not what it's about anymore. Yeah, I don't know if I say you don't care, but I don't know. You just kind of evolve past that because you start to appreciate your value inherently. And that's probably what this whole thing is coming down to is, us establishing our self-worth without earning it externally. And I know men struggle with the same thing, of course. So what are your thoughts on that, on helping us, feel worthy and, like we're enough internally on our own independently?
I love that you said that because I just think it's a great reminder to women that it gets easier, especially as you get older
Yeah.
and have more age. You can start working on your mindset around it now, and I'm sure it will happen even faster. But like knowing that it just naturally gets better, I think is so important to share with women. I think that, when it comes to beauty and like our worth and everything, our beauty doesn't make our worth, but if we believe we're worthy, I believe it creates our beauty and our magnetism. It's not to say that you're not beautiful if you don't think you're worthy right now. Please do not think that. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying it increases your magnetism, because if you believe you are worthy, other people believe you are worthy. You don't have to do or be anything extra. Like literally, it's just if you believe it, other people believe it. I've used this example before where, I don't know if you've noticed this, Amy, I'm so curious to hear, where if let's say there's two people, there's this new piece of research out in the scientific world, I'm making up a story. And one person is just a nervous Nelly, like insecure person, doesn't see their worth, but let's say they're a research hound and they've like got the answer to something and they share it on social and they're like, oh, like I'm going to put it out there, but are people going to think I'm crazy type way? Let's say they share this piece of information. And then the other person, let's say, is a big podcast host and gets a hold of this piece of information. And he's really confident, or she, and sees her worth. And she shares the exact same piece of information. The way this person delivers it, people are going to think think about this information way differently than the person who didn't think they were worthy when they shared it. And it's because we resonate with, or we believe when other people believe. If we don't believe or we're hesitant, other people are hesitant. Our energy really affects other people in that way. So one thing that I do with myself, this has been huge on my self-worth journey, and I share this with all my clients, is I write 10 reasons. I don't do this as much anymore, but I did it for a while. 10 reasons every day why I'm a valuable human.
Nice.
And I feel like that alone has really like shifted the energy. But yeah, that's my viewpoint on it, is you get to work on your worthiness and remind yourself of it every single day. It's a muscle. And when you believe it, other people will believe it. And you don't have to have any extra skill. You just have to believe it.
That's really brilliant. I love that. It's something so simple, because I think that's what it all comes down to is, the whole self-esteem, worthiness, because That is the root of confidence. Otherwise, you're never going to put it out there because you're always going to be waiting for the criticism, for the attack. What do other people think? I know, Rachel, I lived pretty much my whole life with my well-meaning parents constantly saying about what other people think about this. And I can't even tell you how many countless decisions in my family that were partaken or not based on quote unquote what other people thought about what we were doing as a family. So that was just programmed in my little head. And I'm just finally kind of breaking free from that to, because talk about being in prison. I mean, that was an imprisoning program in my head of a default to automatically just go to, well, what are other people going to think about that? Not only what I said, but what I do. I mean, I lived half my life captured basically. So what I've learned is I've started to break these chains is that you have to have a strong core to withstand putting it out there. What is your voice? And I want to talk to you about that because you have a very interesting story about how you had said you actually never talked, and now you have a podcast, and you actually, you obviously speak and lead women as a living. But it's so, what a journey for everyone listening, how inspiring, because everyone, Rachel was not always like this. Okay, Rachel started, as you said, and please tell us more, that you didn't talk and you were actually even obese at a time. So you've got a complete turnaround. And what I would imagine has happened is you have found your solid core, which enabled you to have the platform to put yourself out in the world, exposed to criticism, attack, opinions, people not approving, not agreeing, but you're strong enough in who you are that you can withstand it.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I love just telling people that they can do anything they want and they are the creators of their reality, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. I'm not special at all. Like, I mean, we're all special. I'm special in some way, but I'm not special in the way where I get to transform and you don't. You get to transform too. Everyone does. So yeah, when I was really little, I would even say up through high school, but specifically around like 9 years old, that was one of my first rock bottoms. I was completely mute at that point. I did not talk. I didn't talk at school. I maybe had a couple friends and I would only talk to them, and they ditched me because I never wanted to go out and do anything because I was really anxious and depressed, and I would play video games all day and I would closet eat my feelings away, and I didn't know why I wasn't like the other kids. And I just like constantly looked at all these skinny kids running around, having a ball, like talking to each other. And I remember thinking, how do they talk? How do they know what to say? And like observing them. And I begged my parents to let me go to a weight loss camp when I was 9. They had a bunch of like VHS tapes of all these sleepaway camps. I don't know why, but they had them. And I watched one, and it was this weight loss camp. Begged them to let me go because I wanted to be like the other kids. I went, and I lost 23 pounds in 6 weeks, which was taught me a lot of unhealthy eating habits because I didn't like the food there. So I didn't eat much, right? So I ate less than all the other kids, lost weight faster than the other kids, exercised more than the other kids because I was the only one there who came on my own accord. All the other kids were sent by their parents. I begged my parents to let me go. So it was a little different. And then I just became obsessed with dieting. And I thought the reason that I fit in now, because I made a couple of friends at weight loss camp, I thought that like being thin or losing weight is what made me gain friends. But really, it was just the fact that I was at weight loss camp. There was other kids like me I could resonate with, and I felt like a little safer to open up. So I didn't solve the crux of the issue, which is my debilitating anxiety. And I used to have like panic attacks in elementary school, all the things.
Wow.
So up through high school, I still didn't really talk, had a couple friends, obsessed with dieting and nutrition. I'd stay up till 3 a.m. every single night. And then I would like basically go to bed researching on my computer how to be thin and then implementing all these things. And I ended up going to college for nutrition, got my degree in nutrition. I was on a quest to find this mental freedom when I was actually causing more and more of a mental prison the more I looked outside of me. And again, was not solving the root issue, which was I had debilitating anxiety. Like that, this anxiety, the feeling is what stemmed everything, the constant research. And so I hit this rock bottom when I graduated from college, because I got like really good grades. I graduated top of my class, and I felt more miserable than ever because I thought if I did that, I would have the answers. I'd be able to finally let go, have this freedom, be like the other people, not have to think about my diet so much. And it wasn't the answer. And so I just was like, screw it. I'm going to stop learning it all. I've learned it all, it feels like, and I'm just going to let it go. And I went back to the basics and was like, I'm going to eat fruits, vegetables, meat, like the basics, get all my nutrients in. And what started happening was when I just forgot about portion sizes and forgot about calories, I started noticing, like, when I was hungry, I would eat. When I was full, I would stop. I started to have more energy because I was trying to get as many nutrients into my body as possible instead of restricting nutrients. What ends up happening is I started noticing, oh, when I eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full, and I feel satiated, I stopped binge eating, which was crazy to me. Oh my God, the only reason I binge ate was because I was restricting myself for a portion of the day or going longer periods than my body wanted without eating. And then my body would backfire and just go crazy on cookies or whatever.
And your mind backfires, like your mind goes nuts.
Exactly. My mind's like, we're starving, eat all the food. It's like, screw it. It wasn't worth it. So first thing I noticed was I stopped binging. Second thing I noticed was when I focused on what can I bring in, how many more nutrients can I bring in? Oh, can I add pumpkin seeds to this? Can I add hemp seeds? Can I add more veggies? Can I add this? I started becoming an adder of nutrients, because one thing I learned in college, right back to the basics, was you need all these different nutrients. So I thought, well, if I'm not thinking about it, I might as well just add as many in as I can in a variety and then just like eat till I'm full. So I started noticing I had more mental clarity. My acid reflux cleared up because I wasn't stressing over, like, stress over food can cause acid reflux. Who knew? And then what ended up happening was I just finally came to this point where my body weight stabilized at the weight that I always worked so hard to be at before, but it just naturally stabilized. And I had finally found what I was looking for, which is insane, because when they talk about like manifesting something, right? You put the action in, which I was doing for a good 16 years. I just didn't surrender to all the action I was taking. So I looked at this rock bottom as my surrender period. And the universe showed me the way by me just listening to myself. And that was the first instance where I realized I could trust myself. Because how many of us women do we think we can't trust ourselves around food, that we will binge on the brownies, we will binge on the donuts? And when you fully let go and trust, like as deep as the way I just described it, that's when you realize how powerful you are and how you don't actually need to seek the answers outside of you. So I started rejecting more scientific studies about nutrition after that. I decided I don't need to know anything else. I just need to know more about me.
Love it.
And that started a journey then of, well, what else can I learn about me? Where else can I trust myself? I took some transcendental meditation courses. Actually, Ryan did that with me. It was pretty fun. We did it for a while. Then we got into other meditation. That was cool. Started clearing my mind out a little bit. I started thinking slightly less. I started journaling, but I still couldn't seem to get over the social anxiety or get out of my own way. And I say this all the time in my coaching, the only way there is through. And I learned this because I'm not going to get over my social anxiety if I'm still like just not going to talk to people, or if I'm still or if I'm just not putting myself in those scenarios where there's going to be a bunch of like-minded women. I would go back to my old safe friends who didn't care about growth, who didn't care about any of those things. I was like, in high school, I was the one going to the gym every day. And sometimes I'd get to drag my friends with me. I'd be like, come on, girls. And so that's how I lived a lot of my life, is going back to the friends that I felt so lonely and I was afraid to lose them. I didn't want to be extra lonely. And what I really needed was to find people who wanted to grow like I did. So cue me attending my first retreat, and I got immersed into a group of women, which was scary for me, but it shed so many walls, so many layers. I connected so deeply just because of the nature of a retreat and how, you share vulnerably and the activities you have. And that's when I began to see, oh, I can communicate with other women. Like I do know how to be a normal human, and all I had to do was like throw myself into the kiddie pool without floaties. And so yeah, that was like the progression to me talking a little bit more. I took that language coaching course. I would say over 2 years, I spent like 30 grand between coaching and retreats because I just became obsessed. But they paid off every time. And it's not like I had the money. That was part of me learning to trust myself too, is that if I put this money out, I would be okay and it would come back to me in some way. And it did. And then I invested more and it would come back to me and more. And it just, the more leaps I took, the more self-trust I built. And that's how I got here today.
So there's kind of your proof you're going in the right direction because it was paying off. Well, yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, really, the big kahuna is the self-trust piece. And for women, girls, we've got to learn to trust our bodies. Like, what is all that about? You know, because what I'm hearing, and I know in my life, is just so much judgment, so much self-judgment. Like you, I'm super educated with nutrition and health and all that. And that inherently is the polarities, right? Good food, bad food, good diet, bad diet. I was a good girl today and ate well. Bad girl didn't eat well. Then any kind of, bad deserves what? Punishment. And that leads to guilt, leads to shame. It's like these are all really low vibrational energies that are very, very toxic in our mind, body, and spirit, and very debilitating of our souls. It's so I know I've done it. Like it's just happening the other day. Okay, so my mom, I'm gonna blame her. My mom just turned me on to a really healthy frozen treat. It's made primarily from coconut milk. It's not dairy. It's like a frozen dessert. Super healthy, the whole deal. Well, ice cream is really my thing. Okay, and I don't really engage in it too much. But bottom line is, Rachel, the other day I had a long day of work. And like we were saying earlier, I went too long without eating, okay, because I was, working and, of course, starving, ready to eat my hand, right? And don't you know, long day work, and I started feeling like, oh God, I worked so hard. Don't you know, I was totally physically full. I found my face in my freezer and took out this pint of the healthy frozen dessert, couple bites, I'll just have a couple bites. Next thing I know, half the thing's gone. Next thing I know, I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna eat this. This is delicious. I was basically self-medicating from all my stress and all that. The whole container was gone. Now it gets worse, everybody. I go into my garage where I had a spare freezer. I had another one stored out there, took that out and ate that too. Okay. So I ate both of them and I went to bed. So next day I woke up, I had bags under my eyes. I felt hungover. My stomach was bloated. My digestion was screwed up. I didn't sleep well. I had a crappy day. The whole vicious cycle starts, right? But the worst thing, Rachel, was the self-admonishment, the guilt, the shame, the judgment of myself. It wasn't even the physical. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like I ate a box of Twinkies or something. It was relatively healthy, but it was the beating up I did of myself for doing that. And I feel like, come on now, I can't be alone. Like, we do like, we don't trust our bodies, and my body was just trying to, because I was overriding it during the day. So I guess what I'm getting at is when I look back at what happened, the lesson for me is to kind of stop before I get to the point of overwork where I then had to medicate, and then there was no off switch is what I'm getting at. So now like, okay, when I feel that happening, I stop, I go get a snack, I take a break, whatever. And if I don't finish work, I don't finish work, but I'm not going to create this vicious cycle of then all of a sudden I'm eating the whole house. I'm up all night and I'm screwed up for a few days,
Yeah, 100%. There's so many women who fall into that. I used to fall into that constantly. And one thing I'll also add to that is there's some women who might be listening and be like, oh, but I eat 3 meals a day. Like I eat consistently, but I still, like, when a cookie's in front of me, I'll eat all of the cookies. And a part of that I've also found, and this was something that took me a little bit longer to start to understand as I was in the surrender period, And I do this with a lot of, I don't work specifically on food and stuff with clients anymore. I do like total transformation and that you create your reality, but I do still have some food clients, and I will tell them to, like, I'll give them permission to eat that lemon donut they're craving, or like I'll make the homework that week. Will you go eat like all the lemon donuts? Like, and I've noticed that the more you just feel allowed to have something, the less you want it. So I gave one of my clients a homework assignment to eat lemon donuts that week because she kept telling me she was craving one. So I was like, eat him. And then she didn't want it anymore because she knew she could have it. But also, Amy, and I'm sure you get this because clearly you eat like a variety, like you go for the healthy stuff. Another thing is when you add more variety of nutrients into your day, like when your body craves things, like craves carbs or craves that, it's usually coming from a place of, it could be emotional, which tend to your emotions, feel your feelings. But two, it could also be your body's just missing nutrients. How many more nutrients can you add into your body so it doesn't actually have these cravings later? But yeah, I can relate with you a lot. I'm sure a lot of women can relate. And that comes to putting ourselves first and trusting that everything will be okay if we put ourselves first too.
Yeah. And I always have taught the principle of, the hunger scale. And and you mentioned it, just physically tapping into how physically hungry am I right now? From a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being famished and 0 being, stuffed, and well, in my example with the healthy frozen dessert, I was not hungry, but that wasn't even the point. It was emotional hunger. It was spiritual hunger of me trying to, again, self-medicate from overwork. So that's my issue to address. And I know, just insert your self-medication. Some women it's online shopping, some women it's social media, some whatever, over exercising. I mean, we all have our ways of, overriding what the body physiologically is saying because we have other needs. How would you help women to get in touch, Rachel, with these needs? Because like we're saying, this is very common. So, how would you help a woman, like, okay, let's talk about your spiritual, emotional needs. Like, how do you help them become more aware?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I think that's a great cue. If you use a hunger scale and you feel full, but a part of you feels like it wants the ice cream,
Yep.
a real good cue that there's an emotional need unmet. We're in a pandemic right now of people not wanting to feel their feelings and avoiding their feelings at every cost. So we watch TV, we eat food, we go on social media. That's a real big one. So one thing that I do with my clients is expanding the joy outside of food, because we look at food as our sole source of joy, but when you're like, we forget that there's so much joy in this world. So I'm really big on how can you, well, first feel the feelings first, because you're not going to be able to feel joy if you're feeling like all this angst or whatever in your body. It's almost like trying to slap joy on top of a cement wall. So first we have to clear the feelings out. So ways that I tell my clients to clear the feelings out is I'm really big into walks and breathing. And this is a really weird way I clear feelings out. I don't know if it works for everyone. It works for me. Maybe it works for you. Is I go on a long car ride and I'll set my GPS. So I have to pay attention. Like I don't know where I'm going. And so when I put all my focus on having to figure out where I'm going, usually over the course of the drive, I don't know if it's like the hum of the car, the feelings clear out of me. It's almost like they're able to dissipate out when I focus on something other than my thoughts.
Wow.
So that's one way I like to use meditating, breath work. What are other ways you can feel your feelings? You can just sit there with your hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and just breathe into them. Sometimes I walk around my house and I massage the sensations in my body, especially if I have a lot of anxiety, let's say in my lower belly. I'll massage my lower belly and breathe into it and move that energy. So I always say start with like moving the energy in some way. Feel your feelings. It's not comfortable. It takes often a lot longer than you want it to take. And you know that you're getting there when your brain stops fighting you. When your brain stops being like, screw this, is it over yet? Like, that's when you're starting to let go and get there. And then after that, I really am a big fan of, like I said, expanding the joy. How can you find joy in other things? Like if you're out to dinner with friends, let's say, how can you put the focus more on connecting with your friends? How could you put the focus more on, wow, I feel so good in this beautiful restaurant. That's so beautiful. It smells so good in here. How can you expand the joy outside of the food? And then I would say, like, obviously gratitude's always a go-to. If you go on a walk and then do gratitude, like towards the end of your walk, I'm a big fan of gratitude walks, then I think that's like a really great way to first clear the energy out and then get into the joy that you're really looking for with food.
Yeah, that's excellent. I would add too that what I do with my clients and the people in my circles is I encourage them to just go within and think, what am I feeling? And this is a sticking thing because a lot of times people don't know what it is they're feeling. Where am I feeling it in my actual body, not between my ears? And what am I needing or wanting right now? Because, like, for me, back to my example, I was wanting to feel relief and release. I wanted to feel release. I was so stressed. It was late. I had a really hard day. Again, I worked so hard. I overrode everything in my body. And I just wanted that feeling of relief, almost like an orgasm, like that release or whatever, or, the jumping off a cliff and jumping in a cold pool or something, the water. And I wanted to feel that. So what makes me think of that, Rachel, is people probably don't know other outlets. And I'm glad you gave some. Driving in the car, meditating, all these different, take a walk, call a friend, all these things, take a bath, change your state, splash water on your face. For me, I take a cold shower. That'll change your physiology quick. Like we need to expand our repertoire for how we can change our state rather than just overeating, is what I'm hearing you say. Because to me, that's what we need to do. We need to expand our tools, and that me included, like not just overeat and not overexercise. There's got to be other ways I can get that release that I'm looking for.
I love those questions that you ask women because I think it's also important to reflect on that too. One thing I also tell people is you don't need to know why you feel a certain way. Like you can know what you need. Like you can ask yourself that, and that's why I love those questions. With some of my clients, they try to figure out why, and it almost puts them more into a tizzy. And I'm like, you don't need to know why. Just feel the feeling and see what you need, and like give yourself what you want. But I wanted to say, when you mentioned it almost feels like an orgasm, like you're looking for that release. I actually think that's also a really great way to move stuck energy.
Yes. Woohoo!
Yeah, I've been really. Do you know Kim Anami?
No.
I'm obsessed with her right now.
No, you'll have to send it to me when we get offline. I don't know.
All about self-actualizing and orgasming your way to being enlightened, to being healed.
Damn. All right, next guest on my show.
Nice. I've been following her, and I got like this wand, and I've been doing yoni massages and breathing, not for the sake. I mean, obviously like orgasm would be great because if you have those deeper internal orgasms, that actually releases like some stored trauma. That's why if there's any woman listening to this, if you had a deep internal orgasm and you cried or laughed or something came out of you, it's because it's releasing energy, stuck emotion from your body. But what I found is, even if my goal is to just massage and breathe down there, when I get up, I am so grounded. It feels like someone dropped a weight into my body. And it's almost like it clears out any of the anxiety that you were having. So, I mean, and you have your fingers, like fingers are free. Like, I know this might be TMI, but it'd be a really great way to start moving the energy through the body and connect to yourself.
Not at all TMI, my friend. Let me tell you, this is so important. I'm so grateful you're sharing this. This is critical that people realize, women realize we have this sacred portal that's our bodies, that through the beginning of time that both men and women knew and revered as the portal to the divine. And this is something that's inside of us that we're not taught or told or how to access, how to utilize fully. And you're absolutely right. And we know that the yoni, the womb, is energetically connected with the heart. I mean, and that's to your point of why a lot of times, when you have a deep cervical orgasm or something, women can cry. And women, by the way, women can get really, really emotionally connected to a man once they have intercourse with him, particularly deep intercourse, even one time, because energetically they're connected to your heart. So that's part of the reason why you want to be a little bit astute as to, who you let into the sacred portal, so to speak, because you might be tied to them energetically, even if you never see them again, unless you have a closing ceremony. So that's, I guess, another issue. But I love that you're saying that, because what you're telling us, Rachel, is that we have a mechanism within ourselves to get to that release. If we just, I guess, get taught how to do it right. I don't know.
Well, a big part of it too, and this is something that why I'm so obsessed with this right now, is I had a numb vagina in most of my sexual life. And actually they've done a lot of studies. Most women, I think like a good 80%, 90% of women are numb down there. It's because we've disassociated. It's because we've allowed people in who shouldn't have been there, or we weren't ready, or we just weren't connected to ourselves, and we've disregarded down there. And why do you think you don't like sex? I didn't like sex most of my sexual life because I was so numb down there, and I would dissociate when I would have sex. We don't realize we're dissociating, but it's anytime you're in your mind and not in the moment when you're having sex.
Oh, please.
So like, even if you start going in there and like whatever you can, start getting like a little lubrication, use oil on the outside to like massage and just even connect down there, even connecting to your legs. But it could take like a good couple months to start to bring sensation back to that area. So you can just start with like small circles inside and breathing, but don't go in there unless you feel ready to go in there too. Is another piece. Listen to your body. Your yoni is going to tell you whether you can go inside or not, and that's where you have to really slow down and like warm it up first. So if you're listening right now and you're like, but I don't love sex, I don't feel anything down there, it's possible for you. It's possible for everyone. You just have to do the work to breathe and bring it back.
And I love that you use the word respect, because that's what it comes down to, is us establishing a relationship with ourselves. It's your body. It's you. And if you're not going to touch it and treat it in a respectful, loving, gentle, soft, compassionate way, why would anyone else, right? So it has to start with us. And to your point, put yourself in your bedroom, lock the door, make it a little bit dark, get some nice coconut oil, and just take a shower and explore with your fingers the softness that's your body, and just explore your own self, to know yourself, and I think it's, again, super key what you said about the respectful part, because as women, we're concerned, and men are too, sexual performance, and how do I look? How's my butt look in this position? And, what's he thinking? And is he into it? Am I, all that, right? And it's such a head game, but the truly good sex is someone who's just raw and in their body. They're just in their body. They're totally with you in that moment, and they're feeling it, and they're feeling you, and they're open to it, and they're receptive in the moment rather than expecting or anticipating or, in the head. It's easier said than done, but I don't know. But that's my goal the next half of my life, is to be there, because I haven't really been there. I was more of the performer, in the whole sex thing.
I think most of us are, because there's porn, right?
Yeah.
Like porn makes
porn education.
Yeah, but porn is not a reality.
No.
And
certainly not for women.
Yeah, not for women. And it's not even for men. If we even think of like Tantra, Tantra is it's an old Taoist, right? Like practice, but that's about tuning more into yourself and building sexual energy and continuously building that sexual energy. And that sexual energy is life force energy. And that's where our most magnetic, creative expression comes from. And to your point with the respect too, your energy literally sends bat signals out to people. So if you don't respect yourself down there, in your yoni, and you just go in because you're like, I gotta heal, I gotta do it quickly, or you let someone else in and you're not respecting yourself, that is what you are then doing out in the world. You are letting other people disrespect you. You are not valuing yourself, and people feel that. And so if you want to start feeling more valued and respected in the world, start at home in your bedroom, and it will just naturally start radiating out, which I think is super empowering.
I love that. And I'll say too, obviously the name of my show, Awakening Aphrodite, is a big part because I lived the first half of my life over masculinized in my essence and my way of living. And that, everyone, again, maybe TMI, but just for full disclosure with the hopes of maybe helping somebody, also extended to my sexual life. And what that means is that being more outcome oriented and harder. And, I was more of an athlete. So I don't want to say aggressive, but, like that. And of course, when you have that chemistry and you have that deep passion with someone and you just want to rip their clothes off and jump them, that's all beautiful. And we all want that, right? We all want that chemistry, which is fantastic. But that still is a masculine sexual essence, and the feminine is so the opposite of that. So a big part of my reclamation of my yoni is now also including the feminine sexual energy, which is the slow it down, the wait, pace it, softer. There's no rush. You can wait, pull it out a little. I don't mean literally pull it out. I just mean extend it out, like it's not like, okay, a quickie, it's like just that whole, everything that means of what sexuality in the feminine feels, looks, sounds, tastes, moves like. It's totally, totally different, which is something that I'm looking forward to exploring now in the second half of my life.
I love that you're doing that. And it reminds me of that quote. How does it go? It's about nature never runs out of time, but it gets everything done.
Yes. Nature does not rush.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great lesson.
There's still hope, everybody. There's still, like I said, with his life, there's hope, everybody. But yeah, I mean, and Rachel, it's just opens a whole new world. And from what I've learned is, that's really the deeper orgasm, the longer orgasms, the multiple orgasms, all that stuff is definitely the longer stuff. You can get an orgasm obviously quick, but like a boom, but it's not going to be a boom, 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 like all that, the multiple stuff is definitely associated with the longer drawn out, patient, the pacing. I know I don't have the right terminology. You know more about Tantra than I do, but I'm studying it. And, I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to have to hit you up for that gal that you mentioned. I studied with Emily Abbott. I did a show with her. If everyone wants to check that out, that was great. She's a holistic pelvic care specialist. And she'd be another great one for you to connect with too, Rachel. I'll hook you up with her.
I've had so many synchronicities with her. So you bringing up her to me right now is really weird because I saw her on Facebook. My friend told me to reach out to her. Then someone else told me to reach out to her. Then someone else told me to reach out to her. Now you are. So
I'm going to hook you up with her. You're going to hook me up with that gal, and I'll hook you up with Emily. She's fantastic. She's in California. And I think her episode was like 101 or 102 if you want to check it out. She's phenomenal. And I think you're going to have a lot to talk about with her. So yeah, Rachel, this has just been phenomenal. Obviously, I could keep you here all day. I'm really looking forward to doing women's events together, for us collaborating, joining forces, whether online, in person, whatever. I have a feeling it's going to happen.
Same.
Yeah. Totally. Is there anything else on your heart, Rachel, before we close it out that you just feel like you want to share with the audience today?
I just really want all women to know that even if you feel quote unquote stuck right now, or like it's impossible to get out of this negative loop you're in, or you'll never find your friends, it's okay for you to feel that way, first of all. But second of all, there is so much possibility out there for you, and you have complete power to change your thoughts in your mind, even if it feels impossible right now. And it starts with getting quiet. It starts with more stillness. It starts with more presence. And so even if you can just take a moment each day or throughout your day to just get present and still, that will go miles when it comes to you being able to finally shifting your thinking to the thinking that you want to be thinking to attract what you want. I would say that's one of the biggest things amongst all of my clients that we get to. We do all this mindset work, but it's really for nothing if they don't get quiet enough or create the space enough to implement it. So I know it's such a cliche thing, but I can't stress how important it is.
No, it's super powerful. It's sometimes the most simple things are the most powerful. It just, and isn't that the good news? It doesn't mean you're going to invest all this time and money and all that. It's just back to the basics, drinking water, going to bed, listening to your body when you're full, stop eating. It's not complicated, folks. Eat natural food, don't be around people who get you upset on a regular basis. It's just taking that quiet time, like you said, listening to your body, getting to know yourself, being kind to yourself. When you look in the mirror, look for good things. Don't criticize yourself. Talk to yourself like you wanted your parent to talk to you. All these basic things are just powerful. So wonderful. That's a beautiful share. Rachel, where would you like to direct people to? How can they find you? I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to check out your retreats. Hopefully one day I'll be there with all you guys. Where are you on social? What's your website? Where do you send us?
Yeah, thank you so much. So you can find me on Instagram. That's where most of my content and links and everything are. And that's Rachel_Varitimos, which I'm sure you'll see the spelling in the show notes somewhere.
Yep.
And then on my Instagram, there's a link tree where you can check out links to my next Goddess Getaway retreat, which is going to be in Hawaii. And I'm really excited about that. I also have a text messaging service that if you want to join, I send out weekly tips, inspiration, motivation to help you tap more into yourself so you can build that self-trust and build that confidence. So you just text I love me. That's posted on my Instagram as well. I forget the phone number you texted to right now, so I'm not going to put that in there, but I'll send it to Amy and maybe she can put it in the show notes. But you can find that on my Instagram as well. So sign up for my weekly text messages. And I also do one-on-one coaching, which will be in my link tree. And my next Goddess Mind is going to be starting in December after my next Goddess Getaway retreat.
And you hold them periodically, depending when people listen to this, because as you know, you never know when someone's going to hear the show. So just check out your website for whatever date is coming up next.
Yeah, I hold them periodically. So if this comes out after Hawaii, then just keep your eyes peeled for the next Goddess Getaway.
Yeah. Yep. And again, who knows, maybe it'll be one with Amy and Rachel.
Yes, 100%.
That will be a party, just a matter of when. Wow. Rachel Varitimos, thank you so much for being on the show. Everybody, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Take 2 seconds, give it a 5-star review if you'd like. Maybe even leave a review, which would be amazing. I'd be forever indebted. It's a great way to support me and the show. Check out my e-store with all the products I like. You can get things at certain discount. And definitely check out Rachel, her website, all that stuff, her retreats. And I really hope to see you at one of these retreats one day, my friends. So thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. And Rachel, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Would you like to support my mission to help empower people all over the world to be all of who they truly are? If so, please subscribe to the show, leave a review on iTunes, and share it with a friend. And if you're looking to take immediate action to align your energy and optimize your health, visit amyfournier.com. Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite. Let's awaken her together in you. I'm your hostess, Amy Fournier, and I already can't wait to be with you again and for you to hear what I have planned for the next show.
Thanks for listening to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. To learn more about Amy, check out her website, amyfournier.com. That's AMYFOURNIER.com. You can also check out Amy's live and on-demand virtual fitness and yoga classes and sign up for her newsletter to receive a free mini ebook of 3 of her top tips for making holistic health a lifestyle. Again, that's amyfournier.com. and get your ebook sent to your email immediately. Connect with Amy on the daily on Instagram at FitAmyTV, FITAMYTV, and watch many of the podcast episodes and subtopic clips on her YouTube channel, which is also FitAmyTV. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time on Awakening Aphrodite.